Hello, I am Dr. Balasubramanian Tyagarajan. Today is going to be the concluding session on the usage of Google Classroom. We are going to discuss one of the important applications which has been integrated into the Google Drive and Google Classroom, that is a Google Form. So here, even though there are many number of uses available for this particular Google Form application, in fact, if you are imaginative enough, you can use it for almost all the regular data collections from the respondents. But here we will focus our attention only to the use of Google Forms within the environment of Google Classroom. So the first thing we need to get are the details of the students who are using the Google Classroom. The registration for any course, one should have a registration process. So you can seamlessly automate registration process by using Google Form. The next is you can set a Google Form to receive responses or suggestions or feedback from the students. Even that is also possible. Then you can schedule a parent-teacher meet, and the schedule per se can be done via the Google Form. You can set up appointment with the teacher using the Google Form. Then the most important being conduction of online examination tests using Google Form. So this is the spectrum, nearly 360-degree usage of Google Form. And there are many ways of starting this application, but we will see one by one. But we will confine ourselves only to the use of Google Forms pertaining to the Google Classroom environment. So now I am going to show you or demonstrate how to start the Google Form. Google Form actually is a default application which is available for the free tier user with a Google ID, and then somebody who wants to start a classroom again can have a Google Classroom and use the Google Form within the classroom. So now let us first start using the Google Form directly by invoking the form from the website of Google where these forms are hosted. But let me tell you, this application is hosted inside the Google server, but when you start creating the questionnaire using Google Form, the questionnaire will be saved inside the Google Drive. So supposing you are using a personal email ID, it will be saved in your personal G Drive. If you are using an institutional subscription of educational G Suite, it will be saved in that class and in that Google Drive. So ultimately your form will be saved within the Google Drive. So first thing is we will go ahead and see how to start the form. So let me search for the Google Forms. So now formsgoogle.com, that is the website where the application has been hosted, and starting it will ask for username and password. This is actually the site where the Google Forms are available. You have a few templates inside the template gallery. So you can have a blank form to customize it as per your requirement. This is actually a quiz form. You can customize it and start creating multiple choice questions. And this is something called a feedback form. This is something called a contact information, or something like a registration where you can get registration of the students within the classroom. And then you can create an order form, you can create a job application. All these things are possible. We are going to focus only on registration, capturing the registration data using the Google Form, and then we are going to focus on getting a feedback from the student pertaining to the Google Classroom. And the third one is we are going to see how to create an online examination using Google Form. So all the other possibilities are there. If you just go to the Google Form site and log in, you will get templates for almost all the possible functions of Google Form. So now I am going to create a small form using a blank form. Before that, I will also demonstrate how to create a Google form from within the Google Classroom. So that is, again, let me see. I have shown you how to go ahead and create a form here. So you can click here. It will open up a blank form or a blank quiz form. So this is how it happens. I will go back. So I don't want to go through the application site, that is Google Form application site. So I will demonstrate another way of opening and using Google Form, that is from within your classroom. So I will say classroom. I have logged into my classroom. Here you can just inside the classwork tab, you can click the create button, and then you can either give an assignment, you can give a quiz assignment, you can give a question. All these things are possible when you use a Google Form. So now I will say, I will give out an assignment. So I am going to say this is going to be a registration which the student will have to fill up. So I am going to give a title, students within the classroom, please fill up the registration form. So that is, I am asking them to fill up the registration form. I will just click create, and then I am going to give out a form. So this is one way of invoking a Google form. So now I need to name the form. I will say registration. I will say registration _1 because I've been taking a lot of classes for online classes for this Google Classroom. So maybe some of these registration files which I have created already for demo purposes could be there in my Google Drive. So I will name registration _1. That is just a nomenclature. Don't bother about it. You can name it in whatever way you want. So the first question you want to ask the student is going to be, you want to know the name of the student. Name of the student. So when you just type the name of the student, this program per se is so intuitive. It classifies that question into a short answer question. So I am going to pull the slider to the right side and making it required. Supposing I make it required, it ensures that the student will have to answer this question before proceeding to the subsequent question. Supposing you don't like this question, you can always click this button to delete the question, or if you want to copy this question, again you can click this one and duplicate the question. And here, by clicking the plus button, you can add a question. And then the next one is, suppose you have already created a registration form and it has been stored in your G Drive, you can just click this and import the question, and then you can add a title and description. You can add a title and description by clicking this, and then you can add an image, you can add a video. So you can even add a video question, in fact, here to make the students get interested when they try to answer the examination. So the first question is, we have got the name of the student. The next question has got to be name of the parent or guardian. So now what happens? The moment I start typing the name, it's just so intuitive, wonderful. Just see, it just chooses the short answer. Even though there are so many possibilities, types of questions which are possible, the answer here is, it has chosen a short answer, and then we will make it required. The next question I need to ask the student is the roll number of the student. So again, when I say, it will say short answer, it will say a number. See, it is going to be a number. You can, if you want, you can specify the length of the number, and you can say the number should be greater than, the number should be less than, it should be between 100 to 200, just to force them to confine their answer to, you can literally prevent them from entering a wrong number by giving out these restraints or constraints. Supposing if you say greater than or equal to, if you say greater than or equal to or between, in between 100 to 200, so they will be able to enter the number only from between 100 to 200. So if you're sure that the registration number of the students is going to be between 100 and 200, you can always say that the registration, you should enter a number between 100 to 200. If the student is going to write 99, the form will say this number is not valid. So you can attach or you can incorporate a validation rule. This is called a validation rule. So I can say I will remove the validation rule. So I am going to say short answer. So I will say required, and I will say it is only a number. So roll number. So we will say it's going to be a short answer. Then next is I will add another question, and here I want to know the email ID of the student. But what the ideal thing to do is you can collect the email ID from the settings. So I'm not going to ask for email ID of the student. On the other hand, I would like to know the address of the student. Again, when I say address, it will automatically switch to the short answer. So I'm going to get the address of the student. When that is done, so actually this is actually roughly the details, the student details which need to be secured from the student. And now, just to see how this form is going to look like, I will click this preview button, the I button. This is how the form will look or present itself to the student. So now let us customize, let us see, play around with some more settings. So there are two tabs here. This is the question tab, which I have already used to set these questions. Now I am going to the response tab. Here, interestingly, what happens, there is a slider here. So supposing you want to keep the form open, as long as the form is kept open, the student will be able to log in and submit the response. Whereas if you want to say, if you want to stop the student from responding, so if you want to time this entire business of sending response, you can always say after 1 hour, you can close the response by pulling the slider to the left side. So when you pull the slider to the left side, your form will not accept response even when the student logs in, tries to send the data using the form won't open. It will say that the response, the form is closed and no further response is possible. So now we will enable collection of response by pulling the slider to the right. So here, whenever you see 3 vertical dots, obviously there will be some settings there. Here, these settings are pertaining only to this form you are going to set now. So here, if you choose this, whenever a student is going to submit a registration, you will get a email intimation. I don't want to be disturbed constantly, so I won't check this. And then the response destination, that is, if you want to allow the capture of data. So supposing if you have created already, designed a spreadsheet where you want to collect the response from this form, you can always choose the destination and see, you can create a spreadsheet. So I want to create a new spreadsheet with the name registration 1. So I will create, so that whatever the student data is going to be presented in the form should be incorporated within a spreadsheet. Then only the data will be retrievable and the data can be analyzed. The same thing can be done by clicking this button. So if you click this button, what happens is you can see the spreadsheet where the response is going to be captured. Again, next is you can also go and customize. Okay, you can download the response. So for example, if you want to download the data immediately to a hard drive in comma separated value, you can just click this and download. And then if you click this unlink form, the form will be unlinked from the classroom. Supposing if you want to click the unlink form, the form will be unlinked from the classroom. Now next comes here, you can customize how the form is going to look like. Say for example, you can choose an image and place it at the top. Then you can choose the color, you can choose the font style. So all these things you can play around with the settings. So this is where you can customize the feel and look of the form. See here, this wheel indicates the setting which you want to be applied only to this form. I repeat again, if you use the wheel to click the wheel to play around with the settings and set the settings, this setting will be applicable only to this form. So any future forms, you need to do this setting again and again. So here, in order to prevent the repeated application of settings for every form, you can go ahead and click and do the settings here under the preferences. So again, I don't like to do the form level settings under preferences for simple reason. I may be using this Google form for n number of purposes. So I don't want to have a general setting which will force my form to respond only to one task. So I will prefer to do the settings only for this form and to customize this form only to this purpose. So the first thing, when I click the form level settings, the first tab is the general tab. So I need to check here. I've been telling you, you should always collect the email address. So you just enable this box to collect the email address, and then if you click this, the student will be sent a response. Supposing if you have submitted, your response has been received. So that receipt the student will receive. If he requests it, you can use this setting to say the student can get a receipt if he wants it, or always the receipt should be sent to the student. That setting can be enabled. And here you can restrict the users to this domain only to use this form. So you can use this one if your students belong to this organization, if they use the ID given out by this organization. So I'm not going to restrict the users to the Otolaryngology online organization. I'm going to use this. I'm going to disable this. So here I'm going to limit the response to only one. Here I can choose the student. I can allow the student to edit after submit. Supposing the student could have committed a mistake while he is attempting to send out the form. So you should always, whenever you want to get a registration done, it is always better to allow the students to respondents to edit even after submitting. And then here this particular thing is, the student should be able to see the correct responses and score summary. This is applicable only to the Google form which has been customized to conduct online examination, which we'll be seeing in the subsequent few minutes. So here next comes a presentation. You can always show a progress bar. So it will tell the respondent how many more questions to go. And I don't want to shuffle the question order, because this will help only during the multiple choice question online examination. Here the third one is actually, if you want number of students to use the same form to submit another response, you can enable this. Since it is going to be a registration, I am not going to enable this. And the quizzes, I am not going to use this as a quiz. So I am not going to use this slider, push this slider to the right to make it as a quiz. So this is the settings. These are the settings I want this particular registration form to have. So I will save the setting. Now the form, after getting the form ready, you need to send it across to the students. So before we actually send this form, design the form to the student, what we will do is we'll just have a look at the preferences. This is a general preference, and this default setting, again you can use this overall setting to collect email address, and you can choose a default value for the quiz that can be chosen in the general settings, that is applicable to all the forms within the Google Forms in the same login. So I'm not going to play around with the default setting. I'm just showing you these are the possibilities, and then I can print out this form. So actually this form can capture data online. It can also print out the form and you can mail the form seeking the response from the student. You can always make the copy of this form. You can trash this form, push it away, and then here you can get a pre-filled link. So what is exactly a pre-filled link? It will give out a link. So if you all you want to do is just get a link, it will give a link. So you can copy the link and push it across to student, but I will prefer to use the send button. So I will click the send button. Here I have the option of sending this link to this form by email, or next is I can send out a link. The link to the form can be sent out to the student for them to answer, or the same link can be posted within the classroom for them to respond. And here this is actually embed code. You can embed this code to the existing college or school website so that the students can use the form to submit the registration details. So since I'm going to use it within the classroom environment, I'm going to use a link. I have shortened the link to make it a little bit comfortable. I'm going to copy the link. Let me go to my classroom. Here this form has been created. I want to give it out to all students. There are no category, and I want it to be ungraded. So I don't want it to be having any due date. So let it be like that. One more thing I'd like to add is any form, a student form, should have a photograph of the student. So I think I will add another question where I'm going to permit the student to upload, enable the file upload. Here I'm going to say upload a recent photograph of yourself. Here I can say I can allow only specific file types. You can push this slider and say I will allow only PNG file, or I will allow JPG file, but let us make it just image file. We are not going to use this. The maximum number of files just one. The file size I will reduce it to 1 MB so that I don't want my space to be eaten away, and I will also make this form required. That's it. Now so I'm going to assign this. So I've assigned this to the student. So it will be posted within the classroom. So now I'm going to log in to the class as a student. So I've logged into the classroom as a student, and this is the classroom. Here it says the new assignment has been posted and it is a registration. So now on clicking it, the form will open. I need to fill up this form. So I need to give up my email ID, which I am doing it now. I'm going to write in my name, and then I'm going to give my guardian's father's name. Roll number, it's going to be my roll number 120. Address, I'll say, and then I can always add a file. I can select a file from my device. Upload the file. On clicking the upload, it will be uploaded, and that's it. See, it says I need to add gmail.com, right? How intuitive the form is. Now I'm going to submit this form. Now after submission, what it says is here, since we have allowed the right to edit the form even after submitting, you can always click this button and ensure that you can edit. Suppose if you have committed a mistake, you can just open it, check out if there are any mistakes, and then you can correct these mistakes and send it across to the classroom. Now let us see what has happened to the, let me see here. You see what has happened in the spreadsheet. these details have been captured. See, the photograph link is given here. The photograph link is given here, email ID is given here, address, roll number, my name, my parents' name, and timestamp. Everything is given under the form responses, under registration responses. So, whenever the student registers, his name and other details will be entered or captured within this form. So, this is as far as registration into the class is concerned. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to use the Google form to conduct an online test, and we are going to allow the form to evaluate the answers. So what we can do is, here my classroom is open. I am clicking the classroom. I am going to give out a quiz assignment. As soon as I click the quiz assignment, a blank quiz form is generated. I will give out a title as quiz. Let me see. Let me make it history quiz. The instructions you can type. So here the grade importing is automatically enabled. If this grade importing is automatically enabled, what it means is, as soon as the student completes the quiz, his grade will be automatically imported into the cumulative grade within the Google Classroom if he is a member of the classroom. So now I am going to open up this blank quiz. So I am going to give a name for the quiz. I am going to say history. So it's going to be history. So let me see. I am going to give out the first question. It's going to be multiple choice. I'll say, where is the Taj Mahal? So here I want it to be a multiple choice question. Say let it be Agra, let it be Delhi, let it be Chennai, and last is Bangalore. So now these are the 4 choices, but I need to give out a key to the correct answer, key to the software, so that it will correct. So now I can do this by clicking the answer key, and then I am going to say Agra is the correct answer. I am going to say any correct answer is going to get 1 mark. So I will click done, and I will make it required. If I don't make it required, the student can skip this question and take on the next one. So I will make it required. Then next I am going to add another question. So first thing, we have done a multiple choice question. Let us see. Now let us choose the short answer and paragraph. These two settings, these two types of questions, evaluating it within the software will be a little bit tricky, because you can't perfectly give out the correct answer. Supposing if you are prepared to manually check the answer, manually check the form for the correct answer, you can ask the student to type in the short answer or a paragraph. So if you can manually correct these forms at a later date, and if you don't want the software to automatically score the answers of the students, you can choose this short answer and paragraph, and inside the setting you can choose that I will manually verify before publishing the result. So that setting I will show you when that stage comes, but here we are not going to bother much about the short answer and the paragraph. The next type is going to be the checkbox type. Here what happens is, here instead of the circle, the checkbox is here. I am going to give out the same question. The answer again is going to be Agra, Delhi, so now here I can add another option if I want by clicking here. I will just give out the answer key. 1 point, answer is Agra, then I will click done. So now I am going to make this question also a required one. Now I will go to the third question. Here we have seen multiple choice, checkbox. Let us try out a drop down type of question. I will choose this drop down question. The question is going to be the same, answer is going to be the same, but let us see how the drop down works. The first answer is going to be Agra, then I'm going to be Delhi, then Chennai. Now, here it will be nice if we can have a Taj Mahal picture added. So I will show you how to add that also. I will first search for the picture. So I'll save a picture. I'll search for the picture. So we'll leave this picture. Okay, it's fine. Let us add. Save images. We will save in the downloads. So now here I want to add a picture here. See, as soon as my cursor here comes here, it shows a picture you can add. So I'm going to upload this from the downloads folder. This is the Taj. It opened. See, a Taj Mahal picture has come. So you can put a video here if you want. If you want, you can put a video here. I will, if you know the YouTube link to the video, you can always put a video here if you want. So I have put an image. I have shown you how to put an image. Let us see. Whenever you see image, you got a setting here. You can align the image to the center. Left, you can change the image. You can remove the image. So these are all possible. Just click this. Whenever you see this vertical 3 dots, just click and see what settings it gives you the option to set. So I'm going to make this one required. So let me add this one is the drop down type of answers and question. Now let me go to the next one. Here I am going to use a linear scale. So file upload is a feature which we have shown in your registration process, where you can upload using this feature. You can permit upload of photographs of the students. Now I am going to put a linear scale. So this linear scale is commonly used for feedback forms. So I am going to ask a question. Do you like this classroom? Grade it on a scale of 5. So here the student will be given an opportunity to grade the class. Label is nothing but you can say good, very good, excellent, poor, bad, can be improved. All these things can be stated here, but the grading is going to be, scale is going to be from 1 to 5. You can change it from 5 to 1. Say supposing you want to go from a descending order, go in a descending order, change it from 5 to 1. I want to go in ascending order, so I am going to do it from 1 to 5. So this is actually a linear scale, is commonly used for getting feedback from the respondent. So I am going to make it required. Let me go to the another type of question. Here in this single form, I am demonstrating all the possible tests you can give to the student. So next is the multiple choice grid. So what is exactly the multiple choice grid? So here you have got rows on one side, columns on other. So I will say this is something like a match the following. So match their capitals with their states. So here you can award more marks because the number of answers is going to be more. Say I will say the first row is going to be Tamil Nadu. Capital is going to be, first we will give the correct answer. So whatever is the correct answer, you type it in the column. So Tamil Nadu, then I will say Kerala. Then here I will say Trivandrum. Then I will say Karnataka. Is going to be Bangalore. Now Maharashtra. And then I will say Mumbai. So here we have done this. We have chosen the multiple choice grid. The answer key is already given. Now you need to give out the points. So let us see. we will assign 1 point for each and give out a done. Have we assigned a point for this? We have not assigned points, so I will assign 2 points. Have we assigned a point here for this? Yeah, we have assigned 1. Right. Next is the next question type I am going to show you is let me see. It is going to be a checkbox grid. This is again another type of match the following, where the box instead of the circle, check boxes will be given. Again, the question is going to be the same, match the capitals with the states. So now I am going to do the same thing here. Chennai, and then Kerala, I will say Trivandrum, Karnataka, I will say Bangalore, then I will say Maharashtra, I will say Mumbai. So here I will give out the points for each correct answer. So I will give out a done. So far so good. We have managed to cover all the types of questions, and then the date and time. So you can use this date and time to ask the student to specify a date and time. For example, let me say, what is your date of birth? So that is going to be the question. There is not going to be any. So I will put out a date. The format is month, day and year. So there is nothing to, we are not going to award any points because just getting this input from the student. Right? We are making it required. So we have designed a small test. We have managed to make use of all the types of questions within the Google form setting. Now let us do the settings within the response. I have already told you about the setting accepting response. You can keep it open as long as you want the student to keep answering. You can close it when you feel that the test is over. So now I will say get email notification. I don't want to be disturbed. You can select a response destination. If you select a response destination, what will happen is it will create a spreadsheet titled history responses, so that all the responses will be given out or saved in the spreadsheet. Since it is going to be from within the classroom itself will tabulate, but even though it is going to be within the classroom, I will just ensure that I will show you how exactly the entire data of the exam is populated within the spreadsheet. Now here I am going to give out the settings for this question. I want the email addresses to be collected. I want anyone on the web to answer. I want to limit the response to 1. So I cannot allow the student to edit after submission because it's going to be an examination. I would like the student to see the summary of the response, and then let us see how it's going to be presented. I want the student to know how many questions needs to be answered, how much he has answered. So I want the progress bar to be displayed, and then I want to shuffle the question order, so that because that is the important aspect of any examination. If you shuffle the question order, the chances of malpractice is reduced to that extent. And then here the confirmation message, you can tailor it or you can change it. The default message is your response has been recorded. Let it be default. Let us come to the quiz. Make this quiz is actually enabled, and here logged mode for Chromebooks. Here this is actually the newer version of Google Forms. If the student is using a Chromebook, if you use the locked mode, it will make use of the Safe Exam browser, and the student won't be able to open any other application on his equipment before he completes the examination. So this is possible if the student is using a Chromebook. So I am not going to turn on lock mode, and then here release the grade. So release the grade immediately after each submission. If you choose this one, the student will get to know the answer immediately after they answer the question. But I will prefer to give out the marks late after manual review. So here this will prevent the small errors or glitches or bugs in the software from really creating a problem with your examination. So it is always better to turn this aspect where you can you need not release the result immediately. You can manually verify the marks allotted by the system to the student, and then you can approve the same. And then here these are all the settings for the respondent. The respondent should be able to see the missed questions. Yes, right, I am enabling it. The respondent should be able to see the correct answer. Yes, I'm for that also. And then the respondent should see the scores. Yes, that's also enabled. Here this is actually a little bit questionable. If you want to be very transparent, you allow correct answer. Otherwise you need not. And then you give it a save. Right. Now this is waiting for a response. And say I'm going to assign this. I can give out a date by which the student, on date and time you can give. When this actually you can time the examination. This is the most interesting part. Suppose you can complete setting this question, and you can give out a date and time, and the student will be able to open it only at that specified time. So since it is going to be a demo, I am not setting a date and time, but ideally speaking, in the examination scenario, you should set a date and time on which it should open, and then you can use the slider to close. Say if the examination, you expect the student to complete the examination in 1 hour, you specify the opening time, and then in the close time manually you go to the form and push the slider to the left, saying that there is here. Let me show you. If you push the slider here, go to the response tab, push the slider to the left, it will stop accepting responses. So now I am going to assign the same to the class. So now it has been assigned. Now I will log in to the classroom as a student, and I will try to answer, see how my question form or the question paper is performing. So here this is the assignment. It's in the Google form. So we need to approve the assigned. So now this has been assigned. Let me see whether I'm able to access this one. Let me go to the mail and grant access. Since it's going to be an institutional, G Suite, it wants me to give access to the, I think whether requesting access, I will go ahead and sharing setting and give access. Right. The access has been given. Right. I will send, share anyway, right? Then now person has been added. Now I will be able to access this form now, right? It's open. Now I want to say where is the Taj Mahal. I will choose the answer. It is giving out immediately. It says that's the right answer. And then the next one, let me see. So now this is the form. I'm checking the right answer, and then it is shuffling. See, it has shuffled See, Tamil Nadu, I'll put Chennai. Kerala, I'll put Trivandrum. Karnataka, Bangalore. Maharashtra, Mumbai. And then the next, say drop down box, I am choosing Agra. Date of birth, I will say month is 09. Date is 23rd. 1970, whatever you want. Then the next in line is going to be Chennai, Kerala, Trivandrum, Karnataka, Bangalore, Maharashtra, Mumbai. I can also clear the selection and go back and do again. So classroom, I'll say grade it into 4. And then this question is actually, I have not said this question. Taj Mahal, Agra, and now I am going to submit. So your response has been recorded. Now let us see what has happened. I will mark it as done. Mark as done. So I have done my job. Now it is up to the teacher to do it. So now my form says I have got one response and it tells me the marks, points secured. So how many, all the questions have shown. So what it does is, it tells the teacher how many students have answered which question right, which question has been answered wrong by majority of the students. This is one way of assessing the performance of the classroom. So here the average, range, everything is given, release scores. Then this is actually the question, and then individual scores. So this is how the form looks like. Now how the sheet will look like, so that we will see. See here, this is the timestamp. This is actually the question. See who has answered. So one person has answered with the email ID. Here the time at which it is sent, everything is given. So if the next student answers, it will be given out here. The third student will be given out here. So similarly, every one of the students' answer will be given out here along with their email address. Such a wonderful tool, this Google form. I want every one of you to spend some time working on it. I want you to create imaginative assessment to assess the ability of the students who have joined your Google Classroom. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Hope my sessions were informative, and thank you very much.